Venus, the goddess of money and love and beauty and harmony and peace, is moving into the sign of Sagittarius, a place that's all full of adventure, but also sometimes combat. And she may actually be able to bring some peace to this world in the near future. She'll be there, by the way, in Sagittarius between December the 29th and January the 23rd. And this is going to impact you directly based on your sun, moon, and rising sign. We're going to talk about the two big things she does during her transit through Sagittarius. One of the exciting parts of the story is she's going to come into a very powerful flow relationship to the wounded healer Chiron, as well as the North Node, in a fundamentally rare way. And that can really change the direction of things in the world that look like conflict and war, but it can also help each of us heal something fundamental regarding things to do with the spirit of Venus, which is love and beauty and harmony and peace and money in each of our lives. And this is going to be a story that dovetails with the Aries and Sagittarius part of your story of your natal sky. We're going to be talking about that particular transit for each single sign. So I'm encouraging you to listen for your sun, moon, and rising. That's going to be happening, that glow up with Venus, North Node, and Chiron around the middle of January. So if you're new to my channel, my name is Lori Lothian. I'm using the Western Tropical Zodiac and whole sign houses. I love the fixed asteroids and I mean the fixed stars and minor asteroids. I do a lot of asteroid delineation in my channel. So if you like that kind of stuff, understanding the sky through the tiny teeny details of life, those asteroids are small but powerful. You're going to love some of the stuff I put out. So please hit that like button and subscribe, and welcome if you are new. The only thing I'm promoting right now is my 2024 all signs videos, one for each sign. You can listen for sun, moon, and rising. The bundle is for sale for only $59 until the end of January. If you want to buy that, go ahead. It's in the description box. I use that to buy my microphones, to get my social media assistants and stuff paid up, and get some help because I really do need it. I'm trying to run a business all by myself as a one-woman show, and it will help me grow my business as well as get more content out here for you guys. All right, so let's get talking about Venus as a general idea, and then we're going to dive into the sky together. I want to point out something about the beginning of her journey through the sign of Sagittarius. Now, just remember, this is a fire sign. And she has no debility in Sagittarius, nor does she have any extra superpowers in Sagittarius. She's just doing her thing. But she does get very playful, very adventurous, very sassy in Sagittarius. If you ever met a person with a Venus in Sag, love is an adventure. Basically, that's my mantra for those guys. Love is an adventure. And so there's a sort of a lightness of being and a sort of an effervescence, fire-like quality that we can all feel. She's very playful. She likes to travel when she's in Sag. She's adventurous about love, even about money, and very much more partaking of initiative. Fire is about what we initiate or what we want to start in life. But also, when she moves into the sign of Sagittarius, the first thing she does is have a tussle with Saturn. Now, Saturn is in Pisces, and that's the sign where she's exalted. So she has a special VIP pass to visit Jupiter's traditional Piscean mansion. So it's kind of like that's her spa house, right? And there's Saturn lumbering through her spa house where she gets her VIP champagne and spa treatments. And she's looking over at him with a stink eye. She's like, alrighty, I'm here in Sag and you're over there and she's in Sag and she's with Mars, who's brewing up wars right now. And she looks over at Saturn and she has a difficult conversation called a square. Well, the energy here can be very much something along the lines of, there's various things we can say about it, but we don't like the energy of a square if we like harmony and peace in the world. This is where she might be in a little bit of a difficult position to bring it. You know what I mean? She's contained or restrained in some fundamental way by the sky. And we're very likely going to feel this, over the beginning of the New Year's Eve energy. I mean, on the 29th is when she, of course, is moving into that square. And then by about the 3rd of January, she's kind of moving out of the 3-degree orb. So this is not your best New Year's Eve celebrations, guys. There's something about this can feel difficult because Saturn and Venus in a square can be like love is hard, right? Or love is challenging, or love is, I'm born with a Venus square Saturn. It's also love is enduring and you have to really push forward and plug at it to make it work and last. You're going to give it your all, due diligence and all of that. So everyone on New Year's Eve and maybe the day after, and the day after, and the day after till January 3rd, watch out. Just So watch out for that square. And of course, going to impact a lot of people who are Pisces, where Saturn is sitting and where Venus is going into the sky as well in Sagittarius. So Sag rising, Sun and Moon, Pisces, Sun and Moon. Watch out for that square. I'll be doing some more on that on my all signs videos. Well, no, this is the one I'm doing. So you're going to hear about it here. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is how rare this can be as well. Now you're going, well, what's rare about a Saturn Venus square? Nothing in particular. It happens twice a year from a applying and a waning square. What's interesting about this square is where Saturn sits, right? He's in Pisces. He's only there once every 29 years. So this is a kind of energy that's really hitting Pisces people pretty hard, right? And all the angles to Pisces. So the Sages, the Pisces, the Virgo, and the Geminis really feel this Venus tension here. So if you are a Sagittarius or a Gemini or a Pisces or a Virgo, sun, moon, or rising sign, and the degree of your sun, moon, or rising is, let's say, between 0 and 6 degrees of those signs I've just mentioned, you're going to feel this tension on New Year's Eve more than everybody else. But I want to talk about a historical perspective of Venus in this particular part of the sky, because it was last in 1995, and before that in 1965-66, that she was making squares to set from Sagittarius to Saturn in the sign of Pisces. So you can go back in your life to 1995, and you might want to think about that year in terms of things, all of us, not just the houses on the angles or the signs on the angles, but certainly, yeah, definitely Sag and Gemini and Pisces and Virgo felt this 1995 crunchy square between the goddess of love and the goddess of constraint, constriction, and boundaries between things. It could be you need to put love boundaries up or something like that around New Year's Eve. But also the other energy of this is that it won't be back until 2053. So yeah, and if you're alive in 65, 66, it happened there. But I have some interesting news about this big picture story. I'm going to get it when we talked about the Venus trine Chiron and the North Node, because in that time that she did something very cool, which is 1968 and also 1969, there was an energy of her doing a combination of trining Chiron and the North Node in Aries. And it was the end of the Vietnam War. Even though the Vietnam War ended in 1975, Nixon came to power and declared that he would put the war to an end. And the war had been going on since 1955. And it was a protracted, long police action war, whatever you want to call it. And basically, the signal Venus-Saturn square that happened in 68, when she was squaring the North Node, and between 69 and 76 when she was trining Chiron, not squaring the North Node, I should say that. Let me get that back. We're talking about when Venus was trining Chiron in 1968, and when she was trining the North Node in 1968, and also then trining Chiron in 69 to 76, it became the end of a war. And I'm only bringing it up because that's the last time in modern history we've seen that. I'd have to go back, I don't know, the 1700s or something to dig up for the combination that was very similar to this. So I'm trying to be hopeful about a world war situation that's going on, a big thing in our world. We all know what I'm talking about. I'm being hopeful that this rare combination that signaled the end of the Vietnam War could be back again. However, I will say another thing. It didn't happen overnight, right? It signaled the beginning of the end, right? And it took, 69 to 75 for it to completely finish up. But hey, a girl's got to have some hope. A girl's got to bring some positive news to the world. Okay, back to the square. You might want to go back and dig in the, treasure chest of your memories for 65, 66, and then 1995. How did it feel for you based on your sign? I'll try to remind you of the all signs that had happened before, but it's such a short-lived transit. It's over by January 3rd. Or is it? No, it's not, because October the 28th, it's back. And then on December 27th, 2025, it's back. So it's going to be January 1st of 2024, Venus in Sagittarius, squaring Saturn in Pisces. October 28th, 2024, she's back again, squaring Saturn in Pisces from Sagittarius. And number 3, December 21st, 2025, the last time she's going to do that. And then in 2053, it's back. So I really want you guys who are Pisces rising, Virgo rising, Sag rising, Gemini rising, to really feel into this, because it's going to be a once or twice in a lifetime, 3 times in a lifetime event, depending on how long some of us live. And you're going to get something juicy and unique out of it. When I talk to you about the all signs, I'll explain how that works. Now, I'm going to show you the sky, but in a minute, I'm going to show you the sky and we'll go through the all signs. I also want to mention this. this. If I look at Renn Butler's Archetypal Universe, right? Why not? Because it's my favorite book. And we talk about difficult aspects between, it's in the description box to find how to get it, between Venus and Saturn. Like, what are the hard energies of that? We can have relationship tests or coolings of affection, social burdens and responsibilities. Venus rules sociability, feelings of loneliness and fear of reaching out. Yes, because Saturn is lonely, Venus is love and connection, doubts about one's attractiveness. Okay. And then in other shadow qualities, he talks about overindulging, duty and responsibility outweighing your fun. So you're so dutiful, you have no more fun. You're not enjoying your New Year's Eve. But don't forget, it's a bigger story. It's pressuring all of us. It'll be back in October. It'll be back in 2025. What was the exact date I was going to give you? December 21st of 2025. And that's because, you see, we have to wait for Saturn to get into Pisces, which doesn't happen until 2026, February. Other shadow qualities can be strained friendliness, the need to conform in order to be accepted. Now, conforming would be Saturn, and Venus would want to be accepted or to belong or to unite with others. So this could be a time where we're all feeling like we need to conform in order to be accepted. I have to say, when the situation burst out in the Middle East, October 7th onwards, and everybody was afraid to speak, right? God forbid you at any point during this conflagration and atrocious things going on right now, you spoke out, let alone you be censored, fired from your university as a head of a university, that you would be exiled from your community, you would be trolled on social media, because conformity was such the name of the game in the first, let's say, 30 days of this thing going on in the Middle East. But now people are having protests and they're speaking out. But urge to conform, need to conform, that can be a very Venus-Saturn story. What else is a square? I'm looking at the shadow property. So holding grudges, not forgiving, the interplay of love and hate. Whoa, intimacy and separation, sobering up, the need to sober up, emotional and romantic inhibitions, fear, loneliness, melancholy, heart sickness, separation from loved ones, doubts about one's lovability, unrealistic needs for attention and appreciation. Bad hair days, bad hair days. Gotta love it. I'm gonna have a bad hair day on New Year's Eve. Good old Renn Butler. Cynical attitudes towards love, beauty, um, unwanted attractions, sexually transmitted diseases, sexual boredom, states of disappointment that force us to open up our hearts. Okay. So, I mean, it's like there's like a pressure on love. There's a pressure on goodness. There's pressure on unity, the pressure on acceptance, because Saturn is giving us that constraint or that constriction. Now, so as someone born with this, it hasn't been bad. I mean, but I have to say the downside of the Saturn square Venus in my life, and it's there in my chart, is that I tend to overdo staying in relationships too long. I think love should be hard, and I have to really work at it. So anyone born with that, check in the comments and let me know how a Saturn square Venus has worked for you. Okay, now let's keep on going. And I'm just wanting to say a couple other things. January 11th, Venus is going to trine Chiron. And then on the 15th, she trines the North Node, because Chiron and the North Node are headed for a collision on February 19th. And I'm going to be sharing a beautiful video I just did with Candace Marie of Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology about all sign delineation for that big 2024 rare event. But I want to note that the last time Venus did this kind of trine was trine to Chiron, well, also connecting to the North Node. She trined the North Node in 1968, and then in 1969 she trined Chiron, and as I mentioned, it was the end of the Vietnam War, because Nixon came into power in 69 and declared it was his goal to end the war, and that began within the 4 or 5 years that followed. 6 years later, the war did finally end. So there is that story. However, we can also go back to see Venus trining Chiron, the wounded healer, in Aries right now since 2019 or 18, that this happened as well. Venus trining Chiron in 1968, in 1987. Remember the harmonic convergence? 2005. And it won't come back again until 2043. So go back to 2005, go back to 1987, go back to 1968. I'll remind you of that in the all signs delineation. Those are times you want to really think about, especially the last one, 2005, because you can probably remember it. How did you heal something in your Aries part of your sky with an assist from Venus and Sag? And we'll talk about that in a minute. And at the end of the month, there's this gnarly, and just so you know, Venus trining Chiron in when Chiron is in Aries, because he spends a long time in Aries because of his elliptical orbit. The last time that Venus was trining Chiron in Aries was 1969 to 1976, and it's back 2019 to 2027. So 7, 8 year cycles. So you're embedded, I'm embedded, everyone's embedded, the world's embedded in this cycle of Venus, the goddess of peace and harmony and goodness and kindness and fiery Sagittarius, flowing to Chiron, who's in a sign connected to war, conflict, battle, but also independence, pioneering, daring, boldness. It's the Aries signature, right? The ram. So this energy, 2019, doesn't end until 2027, and we're only in 2023. So we still have 4 more years of this energy where she keeps flowing to Chiron. As I said, it's the connection to the North Node with Chiron, which only happens every 18 years or so, that is giving it that signature that reminds me of the Nixon era when he came into power and declared, we are going to end this darn friggin' Vietnam War that's been going on for more than 20 years. So there's something hopeful in that, isn't there? Now, let's talk about the sky by showing it to you. Last thing I want to remind you of, on January 19th, Venus will square Neptune. That's about illusions and delusions and love. That's like rose-colored glasses, not seeing what's true, about love or money stories, being unable to parse what's real. It can be dreamy but unrealistic viewpoints around love and money and connection and friendship. So on January 19th, if you're on your first date with somebody and you've never met them before, you probably haven't met them yet. Because whatever you're seeing ain't what you're getting. So be careful for a first date on January 19th. Avoid it at all costs, because whoever you date on January 19th, and that's the first time you meet, and that relationship continues, you bake in the first meeting, the inception chart, with this terrible, not good for love energy. Okay, just not good for love. Otherwise, if you're in existing relationships, maybe you or your partner are not being honest with each other. That's around January the 19th. All right, so let's go ahead and I'll bring the sky up for all of us, and then we'll get delineating what's going on here. I don't know if it's properly cued yet. I'm being very busy today doing research for the next video that's coming out right after this. That's the Mars heliacal rise, January 27th in Capricorn. Whoa! It's also just the Mars in Capricorn video. So I'm doing both of those kind of in the next bit. Okay, here's this exciting story. As you can see, just as the general sky, ignore the minor asteroids. They're for another narrative. They're actually for my story that is going to be all about Mars. But here we have January 3rd. I've just kind of cued in there already. And I think I'll just do a little annotating for us. So let me bring that good old annotation, and then we'll do all signs. And if you're in the live premiere, please hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks to all my regulars, discriminating light too. Stephen the Jupiterian, Michael Thrash, L.A. Taylor, Misbehaving. Oh, you guys are getting used to these names. A Psychic Readings with Rose, Crystalline Alchemist, Flower Remedy, Boiling Frogs. I love that name. Bold and Beautiful Tarot, Our Soul Songs, and more. Thanks for being in my live premieres, hitting that like button when we're talking together, and also just having great conversations about astrology. If you don't know what I'm talking about because you're listening to the replay, every video I put out on YouTube, I attend live all the time. Maybe a couple times I missed it, and I talk to you, get to know you, and I take your astrological questions during the chat. So if you like that kind of contact off a broadcast format into a community, please definitely follow me and like me and subscribe. So back to the story I'm annotating. Well, that was the idea. Okay. Annotate. So basically what we got going on here in the beginning, right, is Venus. And you can see she's coming out of the square to Saturn. And Saturn is now direct since November 4th in Pisces, and he'll be in Pisces until 2026, FYI. And that's the end of the square on January 3rd. It's pretty exact on January 1st. Honestly, I don't know what it's going to look like for everyone, but it's going to feel like, as I said, love is hard, disappointment, love, feeling lonely, feeling contracted, feeling isolated, feeling like you don't like your parents. Just be careful that it's not because of a hangover. Neptune, Mr. I escaped through drugs, is hanging out with Saturn, and there can be an overlay of the sober mind, the glint of January 1st and the real sober-minded following day where you realize that you are like feeling bad, right? Because of too much alcohol or too much fun. But that's a minor way to interpret this. Like, this is, as I said, going to continue into October once again of 24 and in December of 25. So this is a longer testing 1, 2, 1, 2 for all of us, about a variation of love is hard through the Sag and the Pisces corridor. So it really does hit, as I said, Sagittarius and Pisces, Geminis and Virgos quite hard. Now, The other thing I want to point out is that we have Chiron here at 15 degrees. He will eventually meet with the North Node, and they will co-join on February 19th. I think it's at 17 degrees. And what we have here is that we see Venus going to move forward to eventually flow toward those two in a trine on January 11th, a perfect trine to Chiron, and on the 15th to the North Node. But they're really all one thing because they're so close together. And therefore, something around, let's say, January the 8th to January the 18th, to give it a broad range of time in which both Chiron and North Node are being influenced by Venus. From January 8th to the 18th, you're really feeling what this is about in a good healing way. And I'll be delineating all of our signs and talking about the flow from Venus to this fiery part of the sky, where eclipses will be happening next year, especially the humdinger total solar eclipse of April the 8th at 19 degrees of Aries. A lot of action going to be going on for all of us in the Aries chunk of real estate in our 12 pie slice natal sky. And again, Venus is trining Chiron from 2019 to 2027. And this is one of those years in which it's happening yet again. It's always going to be around the same time of year. So you can kind of go back from 2019 to 2027 and ask yourself during Venus's transit through Sag, roughly happening usually at this time of year. It can be December, January. What was going on in your life and how have you been tested in love, depending on your rising sign in a particular way. So listen today for your rising sign first, your sun and moon second. Your rising sign is definitely all about you at the steering wheel of your life, at the front end of the story. But your moon can be about your mother, and it can be about your home, and it can be about your body, and the sun can be about your soul and your purpose and your father and father figures and your career. Whereas the moon will always be the rising sign will be most particularly all about you. So we're going to begin with Aries, and let me get rid of the annotations first and clear that, and we'll start the Aries story. And this is not a long video because I'm putting it out on the day that Venus ingresses into Sag because I'm so behind schedule because I'm traveling. But hopefully you guys can use this pointing towards January 11th, trine Chiron, trine the North Node, or we'll say January the 8th to January the 18th as a powerful time of destined healing. All right, that's all powerful destined healing or something like that, maybe calling this video. All right, no more annotations. Let's back us up. Let's move us forward to the trine. Because I think that the trine is where I'm really going to focus, because by the time you get this, I'm just going to say, watch out for Love is Hard New Year's Eve stories, right? That's about the gist of that one. And here we go. She's at 15 degrees on January 10th. Yeah, that's pretty exact. So let's move us back 3 days and we'll start backwards. 11, 12, 13. Yeah, we'll put her forward here to 12. So yeah, January 8th, pretty good guess, Lori. Let's go January 8th to the 18th. It's when she flows to both Chiron and the North Node. And let's move us into Aries and we'll begin. Oh, okay. This is being recorded on the 28th. My Patreon community will get this today, and you guys will get this on the 29th. They get it early access ad-free. Check out my description box below. I've got an ethical bribe. You get 3 courses with me if you want to join my Patreon community by the end of January for free. You can join for $5 and then leave. You can get the courses anyway. All right, let's get rolling. And usually they get stuff way earlier than this. Like they've got a bunch of stuff already that's coming out in the first week of January, and they've got it weeks in advance, big front loaded stuff. But I'm a little on last minute recording on the road traveling. Okay, so moving into the Aries story. Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. Looking at the sky, you're seeing the energy here of Venus moving through Sag, where she's got her hip hop action going. She's full of vim and vigor and fire, and she's flowing between the 8th, let's say, to the 15th, to both Chiron and the North Node in the house of you. Now, I don't know. So I've got these asteroids in here. I just want you to know that. And the reason is it's going to be for my Mars video. But Lucifer is tracking right now, the brightest angel of all, pretty close to Chiron and the North Node. And over here, we see Shiva the Destroyer on the South Node. Yeah, but that's really a global story, so I'm really not going to address it here, but just note that's what those squiggly things are, everybody. All right, so Aries, Sun, Moon, and maybe I should take it out because I can hear everybody asking me, honestly, what these things are about. Maybe I'll leave them in there. I'll just leave them in there. I'll talk about them if needed. All right. So Aries, this is time for you. You are healing a wound of identity that you've been feeling since 2018 when Chiron first ingressed into Aries and leaves on 2027. Is it about your appearance? Is it about your body? Is it about aging? Is it about your identity? Is it about who you think you should be and are? Is it about identifying a deeper purpose and meaning to your being alive on Earth? These are kind of chironic wounds in the first house. And as that is occurring, you're coming into this nice time here where you can begin to feel a development of something good, a healing. And Venus is trying to heal that chironic wound, but also with the North Node, it's even more important. This is going to be a year in which something exceptional can happen. And the North Node and Chiron are doing the healing, and Venus is giving you her first glow up. How can you heal some kind of deep feeling of self-woundedness, a sense of you're something you're struggling with about who you are in this world or who you need to be on purpose, to share your gifts with the world. And Venus is from the house of God, from faith and belonging. I mean, faith and churches and religion and spiritual ideology and belonging to one's true north path, following one's dharma and duty and purpose and gifts, expression of your original medicine, all that good ninth house stuff, kind of leaning in. Now, because Venus is in a book publishing house, because she's in the house of courts and legal matters, because she's in the house of foreign travel and foreign lands or academic environments, these are areas where some healing can come through as well. And we're looking at maybe something between January 8th and January 18th that is aligned with those ninth house meanings. Even love from a third marriage partner or in a third marriage can feel very healing by marriage, long-term, committed, and monogamous, likely live-in love story. And so there's a lot of healing in that kind of love as well. If you've been having any kind of spiritual faith issues and you're not connected to a deeper sense of the unity of all things or how you see life in terms of maybe, your spiritual belief, there may be an opening here, maybe through a female, maybe through a feminine, divine feminine teaching. Any of those things are entirely possible as well. And certainly having Mercury up here is also very positive. Mercury is all about how you can really begin to come up with new ideas. They're quite motivational and exciting that Venus wants to deliver to you. You could conceive a new book here. You could conceive a new spiritual or hear about or discover a new spiritual path that you wish to follow, or receive some really good news about some academic environments or foreign land travel, again, between the 8th and the 18th of January. And, she's working with Chiron until 2027, but it is the North Node that makes this quite special. Finally, I will bring up the fact that you do have, as an Aries right now with Chiron, and it will be throughout to, the end of December, this asteroid, Lucifer, the light bearer. I don't think of Lucifer as Satan. That's a different entity. It's the most beautiful, bright angel who created a rebellion in heaven. So how can you be a rebel? Where do you need to break with the kingdom of God? Where do you need to break away from something? It may be that it's almost like breaking the rules of the church or breaking the rules of a spiritual belief, and because you can be a rebel. And in being wounded, maybe being a rebel in some way, this rebel yell of January 8th to the 18th is going to really, really be loved up by Venus in the ninth house. So I'm going to go get your inner rebellion on, but also find the connection to higher meaning, deeper purpose, and alignment in this lifetime. Find your true north, your pole star of your reality, and see what comes up for you. The North Node makes everything more intense. So we'll talk about that when we talk about the February conjunction of the North Node completely with Chiron. Hey, Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. What we've got happening here is the Lord of your sky, Venus. She's important to you, and she is actually in your 8th house of chunky money. Now, you can't really see her that well here. She's in conjunct, or what we call an aversion, but she is there, and she is in a flow between the 8th to the 18th to Chiron and the North Node in your 12th house. And this can look like many different things. One, it can be a money story. Some of you may be receiving some kind of financial assistance, some kind of minor inheritance amounts of money, maybe some kind of news that some money's coming to you from somebody, influential or important to you. And I only say influential because you do have the sun at the top of the sky in the ninth house of father figures at the time of this trine in the month of January. And you could also see this as a time in which you're going a little deeper into your sexuality, what you need to be enjoying your sex life from a deeper level of intimacy, tantra, or sex magic, especially because Chiron is in a house that we associated the 12th with bed pleasures, not just like the sexual part of it, but also what you like to do in the privacy of your boudoir, your bedroom. And there's something about your alone time, your privacy time, even just what you might want to do because you are alone and isolated in that 12th and hidden from the public view, that you're wanting to heal something there. I mean, it can be really practical. Some of you may be healing some kind of intimacy and sexuality challenges. But it also can be like healing something to do with isolation and aloneness. I mean, Chiron moving through your 12th house through 2018 is asking you to look at a wound about being isolated, separated, the heretic, the outcast, the alone one, and how you might not feel like you are, connected enough to a larger group of support in your life, and even how you might be wounded in your own sabotaging and addictions. And this is a story you've been working with, by the way, since 2018, Taurus, and you won't complete until 2027. But Venus is going to open up quarters of maybe a deeper psychological perspective, a beginning of an enlightenment here. Venus can liberate you from your small sense of egoic identity. And so this can be very deep soul work for you between the 8th and the 18th of January. And finally, honestly, some of you may look at this as an opportunity to experience a love affair that's hidden. Now, I'm not encouraging you to do that, like go out and have a secret love affair, like with the office partner or, hidden romance, but this has got hidden romance all over it. Yet it could be the most healing thing that happens. It doesn't have to be bad. You know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be like cheating on people. It could just be you don't want to tell the world about this love story that's going on for you and you want to keep it under wraps. But that could also occur here. Okay, and money from foreign places and foreign lands or foreigners coming in a chunk, maybe, between the 8th to the 18th as well. Let me go back for one more dibs on that. I'd also want to mention to you that in this trine to Chiron North Node, Venus is also with, Mercury, and there's maybe something going on here, perhaps something going on here where you're going to get some information or news about something to do with money. It could be an email or a phone call. And, it can be maybe trying to help you with some financial wound as well, not just a wound about, being isolated, alone, or sexual bed pleasures. All right, Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. Venus is in your 7th house. This is your marriage house, significant others, business partners, and clients, audience, and marketplace. Now, don't forget, I talked in the beginning of the video that Venus is getting here on December the 29th to January 23rd, right? So this is a great time for you in general, because it can really amplify the goodness in your significant love relationship, where you begin to really connect, where your partner feels more joyful, where there's more love to be had in a significant love relationship. But if you have an audience or a marketplace or clients out there that you reach out to, this is going to give you an uplift as well, a upswell of your popular appeal and your success in that area. Now, Venus is here with Mercury, and she's flowing about the 8th of January all the way to the 18th to Chiron with the North Node in your 11th house of good spirit. Well, there's a lot going on in that house, but you've been wounded around belonging to groups of friendships. You may have felt disconnected from friendship groups or belonging groups, or even some wound around your longer term visions and goals for your life, some wound around the amount of gains you can derive from your 10th house career financially, or even some woundedness here, perhaps about, things to do with like those friendship circles, the people that you rely on, or an elder sibling wound as well. And, feeling wounded or let down. Now, it can be many things. It could be, you're only going to feel like you fit into the group of friends you have. Maybe you've become sober and they're all alcohol lovers. Maybe you become woke from reality and you understand that there's vested interests that have no need to have no desire to help us as humans. Like you do know that the story is all about who's got the money and who pays the lobbyists that pay the politicians or something. And your friends are still true believers that the system works and you no longer feel connected. I can speak to this because my progressed sun is in Gemini and I feel all of the things I'm saying to you guys. And so you've been wounded in this not belonging to your tribe anymore, for example. Venus is going to begin to try to heal that anyway. She's been trying to work with this problem for all of us since 2019 as she keeps trining Chiron, but it's the North Node that amplifies this and makes this a pivotal turning point in this belonging wound. Now, I'm not going to make it easy here. Between the 8th and the 18th, the wound could be inflamed. You might have a rejection from a friend. You might have a disappointment in a career gain. But Venus is also saying, I've got this. You've got other people supporting you, flowing to you, where your clients love you, your audience loves you, your main partner Squeeze has got your back, your business partner is on it. So these kinds of people are helping to soothe the wound of the 11th house. The elder sibling can be involved, friends in large groups of belonging. A particular friend may wound you between the 8th and the 18th. Not necessarily trying to, by the way, but you may feel stung. Also, you want to shine bright up there, right? You got a big Lucifer light in the 11th house of influencing groups of people, yet you feel also this chironic wound of not fitting in. So really consider how that might work for you as a Gemini to see a pivotal healing turning point emerge between the 8th and the 18th of January. Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising, well, with Venus December 29th to January 23rd, gallivanting here through your 6th house of work and livelihood, it definitely means you'll be enjoying your work or enjoying the office company or colleagues and coworkers or enjoying things that bring better health to you. And finally, beautifying your office space, or getting a new pet or something like that. It's just like the kind of thing she does in the 6th house of this sky for you. Or your pets get groomed and you really love the new grooming, or you get a beautiful new pet that brings you love. All of these things are possible. Now, it's also a time for dating when Venus is in the 6th house, and some of you may go dating. What I'm focused on here is the 8th to the 18th when that trine occurs, and that's going to be a beautiful flow between Venus in your 6th house and Chiron in the 10th. And a lot of you Cancers may have been feeling this chironic wound about finding a meaningful, purposeful career path in which you can share your gifts. And some of you may have had wounds to your reputation along the way, where the whole world sees you since 2018 when Chiron entered here being wounded. I have a Cancer friend who had a catastrophic marriage fall apart. Like it was, devastating, scandalous story, and felt her reputation may have been wounded by that. But on the other hand, this energy is also aligning you with deeper purpose in your career. That's and Lucifer shining a rebellious light up there. Be a rebel in your career. Do it your way. Don't follow the rules. And you can easily become very guide, teacher, mentor, and healers as a career path. You could become any of these shaman, guide, mentor, healer type archetypes of Chiron since 2019 to 2027 as when Chiron's up there and Venus keeps trining him. Now, the trine from the work house to the career house is an Artha stuff to do with resources, career, and material value. And so you're going to find this is going to be a nice time, the 8th to the 18th, for enjoying your work in a meaningful way and getting a flow glow up as you rebelliously do your own light shining in your career. Basically, that's how I'm seeing it. We're going to see this as a positive thing, but I mean, if you keep feeling wounded in your reputation, for example, you might get a bite there, a sting, but Venus is trying to soothe it. And so something good comes out of this, If you're looking for a new job and because you're wandering aimlessly through the landscape of the unemployed, then this is definitely going to be an opening because Venus flowing to the North Node can bring a opportunity, a career and work opportunity to you during the 8th to the 18th. Or a raise or promotion, who knows? Then Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign, we have the story here of Venus from December 29th to January 23rd, operating in your 5th house of love, play, sexuality, romance, children, fun, leisure, travel, enjoyment of life, creative projects, and entrepreneurial business. Now, all of those areas get, of course, a beautiful glow up because Venus is in a trine, okay, an inferior trine, but she's trining your identity. And so you really like the feeling, feels good to you. And as this trine is occurring, as you're feeling this flowy, glowy energy going on here from the 8th to the 18th, I think you might just feel like life is good. You just love it. You're having fun. You are socializing. You are playing. You are having romance. You are having fun with your kids. You're getting pregnant. This is a fertility transit for you as well. So that's just a Venus in the 5th house story. And you may have more harmony with your children and more ease with your lover. and your romantic partner. Now, here we also can say that she's trining the 8th to the 18th. She's flowing to Chiron in the 9th house. I mean, Chiron and North Node. So an opportunity to travel to a foreign place, to heal a chironic wound about your spiritual belief and faith, to go visit a shaman or a guide or a mentor in another country, 8th to the 18th. Also, you may find something to do with a 9th house person, like a guide, a psychologist, a counselor, really supporting you to heal some kind of spiritual faith wound that might be going on with Chiron up there, or some kind of meaning of life wound. And this can be very sweet to find that energy aligning for you, the 8th to the 18th, where you feel very supported by some chironic figure. And again, guide, teacher, mentor, counselor, therapist, coach. You could also get this as a clean opportunity to succeed at something to do with foreign countries and travel. 5th house is travel for leisure. 9th house is foreign places. You may book the trip from the 8th to the 18th or take the trip. Either one would count, and know that that journey will bring you into a destined healing and a positive direction in your life. Especially because Venus herself rules your 3rd house of short trips and travel. You've got a lot of travel openings for you here. And if you do travel in that window of the 8th to the 18th, I'm not sure, but it could bring you a new love story, a new romantic love story emerging from any travel taken during that window of time. If you don't want to get pregnant, do not have unprotected sexual intercourse with you as a woman or your partner, or whoever. This applies to men and women. Testes, ovum, sperm, all of that stuff is kind of the Venusian goddess of those reproductive things. And she's in the house of fertility and conception and pregnancy and birth, like getting pregnant. So again, it's a little bit of a warning. The December 29th to January 23rd for you can be a very strong time of fertility. Just to be cautious about that if it's not something you're aiming for. All right, Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. I love this one. Venus is in the bottom of the sky. Now, I warned everybody at the beginning, it's the Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, and Sagittarius who could have a really rough, tough, and tumble hardship around love and relationship in the new year, around the 29th to the 3rd of January. I mean, really tough for you guys. And it's going to be particularly tough. I'm going to bring this in for the Virgos. Okay. I just want to give you a heads up here. Saturn is that testing of your significant love relationship going on now since last March through to February of 26. And it's going to be this grinding square from Venus to that Saturn this year, right? The 29th, 30th to the January 3rd, and you'll get it back in the 3rd week of October, late of October 28th next year, and you'll get it this year, 24, and you'll get it back December 25. Each one of these is a real hard test of a long-term love committed relationship. Don't start a new one under this because you're baking in that energy of hardship. So what kind of tension may you feel, Virgo, sun, moon, and rising, with your significant love partner who may be anxious, down, depressed, controlling, just that he could or she could display the Saturn energy. And you're going to get it in October 28th. You're going to get it in December of 2025, but you're getting the first pass here. So this is important for you, of all the signs to pay attention to. This is testing a relationship. And so when you get to the 29th of December, which is Friday, all the way through to January 3rd, which I have no idea what day is it, next Wednesday, from when I'm recording, this is where you can find that relationship coming to a critical turning point. And it will be some kind of disagreement in and from the home about the beauty of the home, the cleanliness of the home, the sanctity of the home, the lack of fun in the home, the lack of sex in the home. I don't know what, but Venus is like at the bottom of the sky, squaring off with this Saturn, and you are feeling it directly hitting you. If you are a Virgo, sun, moon, and rising in the first, let's be fair, like 8 degrees of Virgo, it's certainly going to hit you. You're going to feel the intensity of this Venus square Saturn. And if you have a later degree Virgo, sun, moon, and rising, it's going to be more turbulent in the late October, the mid-range Virgos, and the late degree Virgos right? Like closer to 20 to 29, feel the most tension in December of 2021. But you're all getting collateral bumps on the love story here. I'm just giving you a heads up. I know that a lot of Virgos don't want to hear that because you want this relationship to last, but Saturn will test the metal of the relationship. He will tell you if the foundation is strong. And if it ain't strong enough, this relationship that you may already be in will not survive. If you're single, it can bring in a new kind of love, but it's going to bring in a love that continually feels hard. So starting a new relationship under this transit, I'm not sure I'd advise it either. And so therefore, yeah. Now let's move on to the happy news. You got a little extra juice there for me because this is such an important transit for you, the Venus square. What I want you to consider here is that you want to heal something here to do with your ability. Well, first of all, I just learned from one of my friends and teachers in astrology, Adam Ellenbus, an ancient meaning is the esteem of others. So in a house of the esteem of others, the eighth house, you are being challenged. You may be wounded because you don't feel you have the esteem of others. But the other thing about this eighth house is it involves money you share with others. Your paycheck isn't this part of the chart. This is your inheritance money. This is your shared monies with a spouse or business partner. This is your shared monies with banks, loans, mortgages, financial institutions, investments. And so this part of your story has been feeling wounded by you since 2018. And maybe will be healed by 2027. And we begin to see Venus chiming in here in that square to Chiron. And she's going to do that every year from 2019 to 27. But this is the year she involves the North Node. Chiron and North Node are together. It's a one-off story. So how this plays out for you may be that you are trying to heal something to do with your lack of esteem of others or your chunky money from the house of your childhood. What is this about your own childhood, the fourth house, your own father and mother, especially relationship, especially with the moon hanging here at the beginning of this January 8th to 18th story? What mother wounds, what childhood wounds, what family of origin wounds, what ancestral line wounds around love and lovability, about acceptance and beauty, harmony and peace, are being challenged by the Saturn square, but healed by the Chiron North Node. Look for that healing to be very active then on the 8th to the 18th. For instance, if suddenly you do not receive the esteem of others, or your main squeeze love partner is going to withhold money from you, or if your business partner is not doing what they should in the money shared resources, or if you suddenly realize your credit card debt is exorbitant and you're wounded there, or your mortgage is a nightmare and you're wounded there. What is this deeper wound to do with love and money connected to the family of origin? And there's a lot of money in this, eh? Right? Fourth house is legacy wealth and money from your family, and Venus is a money goddess. Eighth house is that chunky money. So you're healing a money wound from the 8th to the 18th, and you're going to really profoundly feel a shift here, I hope, around that childhood stuff that has gotten in the way of your deeper connection to money. And again, it can all play through your main squeeze not wanting to share the resources with you, or you have something going on in the home to do with beauty or money, and suddenly there's this tension. So pay attention to the 8th to the 18th. There's an attempt by Venus to provide a healing here. And Venus is the ruler of your second house of the earnings and the possessions and the money you make. And so again, we keep seeing a lot of the money story being healed the 8th to the 18th for all of you Virgos. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. We spent a dog's age on Virgo because they had special treatment today. So what we have going on is, you're ruled by Venus, right? So she's important to you. She's moving through Sag between December 29th and January 23rd. This is a place where you can have some amazing experiences, okay, to do with how you would like to travel for fun, take a class that you enjoy, connect with siblings, especially younger, or extended family like cousins, maybe even aunts and uncles. You might enjoy your neighborhood and your neighbors more and have more fun going out and about and enjoying those people around you. And you may also be very actively enjoying writing or communicating or the online social media world, whether you're just engaging in it like as a consumer or participating as somebody engaging in output. This is a glow up for your website, your online stuff. Now, Venus here is going to be flowing, eventually on the 8th to the 18th to both Chiron and the North Node in the house of business and love partnerships and legal contracts and agreements. And this is going to bring you some kind of deeper sense of resolving a wound that you've been dealing with, Libras, ever since 2018, when Chiron ingressed into your seventh house and leaves in 2027. What is this Chironic wound about your ability to be in a committed, long-term, monogamous lover business partnership, or with how you are reaching out to your audience and marketplace and clients? And this Chironic wound could have also been a wound about a spiritual guide or teacher or mentor or shaman that also set you into a place of difficulty in terms of feeling wounded and that kind of connection. And there's something wanting to be resolved by Venus to support trining Chiron plus the North Node, making it extra special between the 8th and the 18th. Could it be a sibling or a childhood friend, Venus in the third, or something in the online world going really well for you, or a writing project taking off that allows you to sort of move toward a fuller healing archetype regarding your connection to significant others in your life? I mean, you could simply have been feeling let down or not supported by your main partner, or more importantly, anybody that you consider significant in your life. And maybe there's an opening here for healing. Finally, if you have a chance to travel with a main partner in your life, to take a journey or a trip, even if it's just a short distance, this can open up a healing corridor between the 8th and the 18th of January for that troubled relationship. Venus rules the house of your identity. So how she opens up a healing in your relationship to other people that matter to you will also flow towards your sense of self. And with that South Node transit here, Libra, through to 2025, you're letting go of an old version of you as you focus more on others and how your engagement with those others can also be reflecting a deeper surrender and healing and letting go of an old identity, because you're birthing something new. You're trying to change a sense of self as Chiron, as South Node moves to the house of you and North Node Chiron moves to the house of others. Now I'm just going to briefly stop the share to remind you to hit the like button if you're in the live premiere, and a shout out for a few of my regulars. But let me first slurp some water. Give me a minute. I do love my water. Okay, so who didn't I shout out already? Did I get so many of you guys? Ace of Spades. Did I say Herbal Empress? How are you doing with your baby? I must be behaving. Of course, I always don't forget to mention you. Any of you regulars, I'm traveling, so I don't have my master list of your names with me, but don't forget, I do appreciate all of you. And don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. This is just Lori's water break, okay? Now she's going back in to complete the all signs. So back to the screen share. Don't forget, my all signs videos are for sale right now. And the sale ends at the end of January. It was only $49 if you pre-bought it. Now it's $59 until the end of January. Then it's $77. All right, moving into the next sign. I suddenly have a hunger attack too, but I have no chocolate handy. So she doth prevail into the next story. If you are a Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign, this is going to be a time in which Venus is traveling from December 29th to January 23rd through your money house. And this is good for your finances. There's no two ways about it. Now, you might spend money here, buy some things that you really enjoy or like, find some objects that bring a sense of enjoyment to you. So you could buy a better car, a better sofa. But on the other hand, she's a money goddess flowing and glowing up in an earnings house, and therefore raises and promotions and those kinds of things can happen here. Or your job could you get a new job that you really like. And as she's moving through here, she's good for your appearance. You might, get a new lipstick, change your face, get a facial rejuvenation, get your teeth cleaned or veneered out or whatever. It's good for cosmetics around the face and jaw as well. It's also good for enjoying food that you eat and really having a nice sense of, I love what I'm eating. I'm enjoying my pleasures that go through my mouth, that kind of thing. But a lot of you are going to let go of any addictions and self-sabotage, time to quit the vape and all of that, and too much wine or beer, because she's also flowing to the South Node of letting go in the house of self-sabotage and self-undoing. Therefore, is for some of you can look like a time between December 29th and January 23rd, is it dry January or whatever, that you may really be doing something to alleviate a pattern of ingestion of foods that aren't good for you. And this can be the beginning of a cleanse, in other words. Now, The other thing I want to say is you're charming as hell when you speak. You've got a charm offensive in your voice and your speech, and it's good to use that effectively to get what you want December 29th to January 23rd. Now, the energy here of what you need to be pointing at is the workspace. This is your work life, your daily work, your work habits and routines, your general habits and for health and work. This is also colleagues, coworkers, bosses, pets, tenancies and rental agreements, mostly because of what looks like it's earnings, a second house, Artha, sixth house story. This is going to be a window of time, December 29th to January 23rd, as a general principle, where you're going to look at some improvements in your workspace, your work habits, your health and health habits. Also, we're talking Chiron. From the 8th of January to the 18th, Venus will be in a flow to both Chiron and the North Node. How do you need to make changes here in a positive and healing way around the workspace story and the money space? Money and work and money, or health and food, or health and things that go in your mouth. You're healing that the 8th to the 18th in a very positive way with the rebel energy here. I'm not covering this for everyone of the asteroid Lucifer. You may also need to be a light bearer in the office, but also a rebel and break some rules and tell everybody it's not working for me that we have fluorescent lights here, guys. Can we invest in some like non-fluorescent lighting? Or do we really have to always have the air conditioning going when no one's cleaned it in 2 years, or whatever you need to do? It's almost like to heal that part of the story as well. Pets, if you want a pet that's going to be very healing and destined for you, this is your opportunity. This is like, get that perfect pet that's going to be a deep healer for you, a support dog, an emotional support cat, if there's such a thing. There's a positive energy here about procurement, second house, spending, possessions, sixth house, domestic animal, pet. Okay. So this is a perfect opening for a lot of Scorpios to get their dream domestic pet that brings a deeper healing to them. Finally, if you have any kind of debt situations that are overwhelming you, your credit card, your mortgage, whatever, there can be some healing here between, the 8th to the 18th around a debt that has beleaguered you. And again, I already mentioned your habits that undo you can also be healed during this window of time. Time to go on that cleanse. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, we know that this is happening in your house, don't we? But I mean, if your sun is happening near your sun, your moon is happening near your moon, and if you're rising, it's happening everywhere. So December 29th to January 23rd, this is when Venus does her gallivant through. She does it twice this year, right? Later in the fall too, in October. This is when she's gallivanting through the house of you, and you are feeling very lovable, lovey, and beautiful. People like you. You're congenial. You're attractive. You feel attractive. It's always a good time for a haircut. It's always a good time for a new wardrobe, new makeup. This is really a good time to be beautiful, feel beautiful inside and out. Now, Sagittarius, this is also a time when you look at the life through and the question mark of, am I enjoying this? Does this bring me a pleasure? Is this satisfying? Is this fun? Is there love in this way I'm looking at the world? So you're looking at the life through these questions, right? And you're looking for, of course, the answer. So I mean, you don't make a question without an answer. So keep that in mind. And when we go from the trine from the 8th to the 18th, right, there's that window of time. Well, no, I'm going to stop for a second. I did spend some time here for Virgo. I think I'll spend some time here for you as well. There is that energy of Saturn making your home life feel isolated, difficult, depressive, hard, anxious stuff. Maybe you feel alone or lonely in your home, even if there's someone living with you. Maybe you feel isolated at home. Maybe you have an elder in the home, but there's Saturn in the house of the home till 2026. He got there in March of 23. It's not the easiest transit for anybody to go through. And on top of it, right during this time, especially the beginning of like the 29th of December to January 3rd, and then again in October around the 28th, and then in 2025 in December, Venus keeps forming a square. Love is hard to the 4th house. Love is hard in your home. Your home is hard and isolating, and you don't feel a joy or enjoyment because of it. It is definitely a challenge. And because Mercury, the Lord of your house of committed love, is in the mix in the house of you, there can be some committed love stories that are really challenging for you right now. If you're in one already in the home life, don't start a new relationship under a Venus square Saturn, please. So watch out for that as well. You'll bake in that intense challenge into the whole relationship. But honestly, you could be coming into something to do with love is hard. And how do I speak to my significant other about how hard this really is? Why is it hard in the home? I don't know. Are they depressed? Are you depressed? Do you feel alone together? Is there isolation in the home? Are you both living off in Siberia and you don't have any friends? I don't know, but it feels hard, right? Love is hard in the home. Let's just go for the simple idea of that. Love is hard in the home. And also, there's a possibility here that because Venus between the 8th to the 18th will trine Chiron in the house of romance, there can be then a healing and any kind of longer term committed love regarding sexuality and romantic activity that can be coming into a healing time. Chiron here is indicative of a sexual love, romantic, or wound with your children, wound with your creativity, wound with your enjoyment of life, wound with your sexuality and romantic stuff. For a lot of Sagittarius, is it has been in play for you ever since 2018 when Chiron ingressed into your 5th house and will leave in 2027. And Venus is only opening up a trine between the 8th and the 18th that can be profoundly healing because it engages the north node of fate, which amplifies everything. So you may come into a critical turning point around romance or healing a child relationship with a child with you feel disconnected from. There's a wound of that relationship or a fertility wound because you couldn't get pregnant. I don't know, but there's a healing going on the 8th to the 18th, a healing around a creative project or entrepreneurial endeavor that failed to get lift off. There's more of that coming through the sky as well. Venus is the ruler of your 11th house of good spirit, where the south node is traveling. So you may also have some kind of healing coming through the sky through friends and benefactors or elder siblings who want to support you in healing some kind of wound of the 5th house. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign. Venus from December 29th to January 23rd goes through her journey here in your 12th house. She'll be back in October and November next year as well. But what she does here is she says something along the lines as, can I bring you goodness from foreign countries and foreign lands? Can I bring you foreigners who bring you prosperity and love? Can I enhance your bed pleasures? Do you need some bed pleasure enhancement? Can I give you a sense of being able to dive a little deeper into your soul work from a more pleasurable direction? Maybe you've been like going to, Catholic church and bending on your knees and you realize you just want to meditate at home, that kind of thing. So then we move into the idea here, right? The concept here of well, first of all, I'm not really going to cover much about the square, but you could have some, pain and suffering around travel and travel plans or something like that, all right? Or siblings and travel plans. We won't go in there, in the first 4 days of January, but first 3 days of January, starting on New Year's Eve. But then we're moving into the flowy, glowy trine from Venus in your 12th house, which is a house of your own self-undoing, by the way. And she wants to bring you pleasure there, but she's going to flow to Chiron in the house of your childhood, your home, your family of origin, your ancestral stuff. Now, you've been feeling like wounded as a Capricorn probably ever since 2018, as Chiron went through this part of your sky and makes you feel exiled or not a part of your proper home. One of the Chironic wounds was he was rejected by the other centaurs. Another is a mother wound who abandoned him after she was raped and got pregnant with him. So there's this mother wound or this home wound or this childhood wound that's been, or this wound about not knowing where your true home is or where you can belong and find your truest home. And therefore, this is a time between the 8th and the 18th, and it'll be back next October, and it'll be back. No, it won't be back then. So it'll be back every year. But this is a time, excuse me, on that, the 8th to the 18th, where Venus is flowing in a beautiful way to the wound of your feeling like you don't feel at home, right? Where's my home? How do I belong? And there is a deeper layer because 12 and 4 are moksha liberation houses. Some of you Capricorns can find the 8th to the 18th opening up a spiritual window, a doorway, a spiritual awakening or liberation, as well as it connects to deeper familial and ancestral stories that you may need to heal and resolve in order for you to come into contact with a deeper connection to the divine generally. Finally, there may be an opportunity to travel abroad from the 8th to the 18th, because the North Node can represent the foreigner and foreign places. And Venus is in the 12th house. And so money opportunities from foreign countries or travel opportunities from foreign shores that take you from away from your home or whatever are possible between the 8th and the 18th of January for some of you Cappies. All right, Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. I am one of you. And what this story is pointing us toward here is the essence of a transit from December 29th to January 23rd of Venus in our 11th house. So I'll be back next fall, but here we go again. And this is a great glow up for your finances and your gains from your career. This is also a nice time for enjoying social times with groups of people that you really like, friends and groups of belonging, even clubs of belonging that bring you a sense of deeper enjoyment, social activity, and fun. Up here, you can also be looking at an elder sibling really benefiting you, especially a female at this time, January 29th to January 23rd. And also being able to participate in activities that involve women and that you are having a good time doing in groups of settings of groups or events that involve females in group settings. Now, also, there is this glowy, flowy, healing energy coming through the sky as Venus will flow to Chiron and the North Node between the 8th of January and the 18th and opens up a corridor of some significant healing around a wound in the 3rd house that has been in play since 2018. Now, that can be a writing wound, and I can attest to that. I haven't written anything useful really since 2018-19. The last time I really entered anything of importance in my Wake and Dreamer blog was 2018, and I'm always a writer. I'm a writer before I'm anything else. In case you want to know, award-winning fiction writer, poet, screenplay writer, etc. Published short literary award-winning short fiction and more. And I haven't been writing, and I'm like, what the hell's wrong with me? I'm wounded in the writing area. So this is very literal. And you may be wounded in the social media realm, in your website, in your online presence, perhaps. And that's Chiron here. You may feel wounded around short trips and travel. I was in a lockdown in Canada. If you didn't get a certain medical procedure, you couldn't travel for 8 months out of your country or in your country by plane or train. I was feeling wounded in the short distance travel, a wound with a sibling, especially younger, and a deeper wound around where do you belong? What's your neighborhood? Where's the right neighborhood for you to be? Where's your local environment that you would like to participate in? And so this wound is here. And now we see Venus going, well, and childhood friend wounds as well. A couple of very dear friends that I would call almost like a childhood friendship passed away during this chironic wound to my 3rd house. So look to where this deep friendships I call the childhood friendships because they're the ones that are you met them when you're still a child, under the age of 39, before your first Saturn return, I'd say. And then they became formative people in your life. And, there's woundedness there for some of us Aquarians. So now this whole thing is chironic wound in the 3rd house. Is going to turn around, really. It's eventually going to turn around because Chiron leaves there in 27. But I love the North Node conjunction in February. Wait till the All Signs video comes out on that. But I more deeply love also this time that Venus is preparing the way as she approaches Chiron from the 8th to the 18th and the North Node together. And she says, hey, let's get a heads up on a healing. So this can be a friend who acts like an ally or an elder sibling, who opens up an opportunity for a trip or a travel or a joint writing project or create project or do something together that's going to begin to make you feel more whole around the chironic wound in the 3rd house. Also, you may have some kind of career gains coming through, like lovely financial gains, even a little feeling of pennies from heaven, dibbling down on windfalls. That can feel really sweet for you around, the 8th to the 18th and restore a sense of connectedness to your social media land, to your community in the online world, or to how you share and communicate to others in the online world. I might be looking forward to that. I'm not sure how that's going to look, but I'm okay with that. So there you go. And if you have any kinds of wounds with a younger sibling or cousin or extended family member, you need to tidy up that healing. That's going to show up as a healing opportunity between the 8th and the 18th of the month. And best and always best, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. I mentioned in the beginning, in the crosshairs of the Saturn square are the Pisces, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Gemini. Sorry, Gemini, I didn't dive into it for you, but I'll bring it up here for you, Pisces, anyway. It's just watch out from the 29th to the January 3rd, December 29th to January 3rd, this square that's ongoing from Venus in your reputation and career zone and how the world sees you, squaring Saturn in the house of you. You're holding the Saturnian energy. You are sober, realistic, and more looking for the boundaries of what you want to keep and don't keep in your life. You can grim reaper people, places, and things out of your life until 2026. And especially around changing your home or relationships that aren't working for you or jobs and careers that you don't like, you're going to like cut, all right, or end, or be very boundaried around it all, very discerning, very wise. Now, that said, I don't know what this will look like, but you may find that you feel tousled about in an uncomfortable way with how others are seeing you, how you may not feel as appealing or popular or likable as you usually do as Venus squares Saturn in your first house around the whole New Year's Eve thing. Now, it can be just a temporary glitch in the matrix, but I want you to know that October 28th and then in this fall coming, and then December 21st of 2025, it comes back. If you're an early born, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising, you have the first 6 degrees sun, moon, or rising. This is more for you this New Year's Eve, add 3 days. But then just in more intensity for the middleborns, let's say 8 to 18 degrees of Pisces next October. And then the last 18 to 29 degrees of Pisces, we'll be really feeling it next December 21st. The same wound, you all get a turn. All right, now moving on to the end of the story. The same challenge, really. And, don't forget Venus squaring off with Saturn, as I mentioned earlier, this is not that common, right? In this way it happened last was 1995. And so then we're going to go into, I'll probably be delineating this in more depth in my week ahead January video that comes out every Monday. So stay tuned for that. And then finally, the flowing energy of Venus. Okay, first of all, Venus in your 10th house, what does she do there? December 29th to January 23rd. She can make you more public, popular, appealing, likable, give you career opportunities and lucky breaks. All right, that's basically it. And as she spends most of her time there doing good things, except for the very beginning squaring Saturn, she's also flowing to Chiron in the money wound. How many Pisces do I know? A whole ton of you who have felt wounded in their earnings, possessions, resources, self-worth, and self-value since 2018 as Chiron ingressed into your second house. He won't leave till 27. He's teaching you a deeper lesson about your value and your worth do not depend on something. Like, I don't know how many chickens you have, how much land you have, how much herds of goats you have, how much money you have, maybe something like that. But he's also trying to get you to lean into a deeper purpose and alignment with your true gifts in the expression of earning money. I was born with Chiron in my second house. I can tell you so many stories, devaluing myself, not charging enough for my services, taking jobs that are underneath me, not being in line with purpose and work. This is a curse for us Chiron second house people, born with it. And you've been going through it since 2018. Now, when you're aligned with purpose, your money is fine. So that's the deepest lesson for you to get here. And I wonder, Venus flowing towards Chiron, the 8th to the 18th, and the North Node giving it a special secret sauce juice can be the beginning of what February is going to offer you, Pisces, in terms of a real big breakthrough in your self-worth, your values, your way you want to earn money and bring possessions and resources to you to survive and to thrive. This is going to have a feeling of the 8th to the 18th glow up. It's going to feel good. It's going to feel like an opportunity of some sort. And it could look like a money opportunity. It could look like a career opportunity. Whichever way it goes, money, career opportunities, money, career healing is underway. And Venus rules your 8th house of chunky money, and the South Node is depleting your bank account, your savings, your 401k, depleting your reserves, depleting the money you share with a resource partner, like a business partner, or like a bank loan or mortgage. This is a sense of pulling you down or depleting money. Inheritance monies are depleting or lessening, or you're surrendering or letting go there. And Venus rules that house. And so she's like, oh yeah, we're going to empty out that space. We're going to pull the plug and down the drain, that stuff goes, but at the same time, we're going to flow and glow to healing that second house wound. So that's exciting, isn't it? I think so. And so you're going to see a financial uplift or a career and opportunity uplift as a result of what we're seeing in the sky, the 8th to the 18th of the month of January. Thank you for listening to everybody who's been here for this delineation. The video is going out on Venus's day, which is a Friday. We're going to put it out on her day so she can celebrate with us. And this is going to be something that hopefully is useful for you to navigate this particular, somewhat rare elements of this Venus transiting the sign of Sagittarius. Don't forget, my Patreon community gets all my content, early access, ad-free for $5 a month, the lowest tier. You get one Zoom meeting with me a month on a topic of interest. We converse about it. You get to talk with me, in a Zoom call. And I also have classes I teach over there and a bunch of other stuff, perks and discounts just for being a part of my community. I'm opening up my waiting list for readings in January, but my Patreon community gets first dibs. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not saying join, get a reading with me and quit. That's not fair, really. But I'm just letting you know, if you're on Patreon, you get all these special things. 3 free courses with me, 2 are taught, you get them for free. Plus one I'm teaching at the end of January. Look in the description box to learn more about that offer. Okay, thanks for listening, guys. I'll see you soon. The next video out is going to be my Mars ingress into Capricorn with a teaser highlight of the 27th of January heliacal rise of Mars into the visible sky in the very early hours of the morning with Mercury. And that's going to be so exciting because it's going to change your life completely. And the Capricorn part of your sky in a way you have not seen since 1977 to 79. This is going to change your Capricorn real estate in a positive way between January of 2024 and 2026 January. So I'm so excited to do that video. It's going to be a nice one, a deep one, a long one that's coming out in the 3rd week of January. But first, before that comes out just the whole idea of Mars moving through Capricorn and what that means for your sign. So stay tuned for that video, probably coming out on Sunday, which is the 28th, 29th, the 31st, the day of New Year's Eve. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Take care.